Welcome, everyone. I'd like to call tonight's regular council meeting to order. Recommendation that the agenda for the regular council meeting of September 14th, 2020 be adopted as presented with the removal of item 5B, zoning amendment bylaw number 3453-2020. Moved by Councillor Randhawa, seconded by Councillor 80. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Item 3A, recommendation the minutes of the special council meeting of August 24th, 2020 be adopted. Moved by Councillor Skelton Morvan, seconded by Councillor Niche. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Item 3B, recommendation that the minutes of the committee of the whole meeting of August 24th, 2020 be adopted. Moved by Councillor 80, seconded by Councillor Randhawa. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. And item 3C, recommendation that the minutes of the regular council meeting of August 24th, 2020 be adopted. Moved by Councillor Niche, seconded by Councillor Skelton Morvan. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, first up, 4A. So the recommendation is that Mayor and Council approve the development variance permit number DP 2015 for 1715 Kootenai Avenue to proceed to final approval. Moved by Councillor Niche, second by Councillor Skelton Morvan. Is there any comments from staff? No comments were submitted?
No, everything is fine.
Okay. Okay, any other discussion from council? Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Next, 4B, we have an application for development variance permit at 212 9th Avenue East. We have a recommendation that Mayor and Council approve the development variance permit number DP 2020 for 212 9th Avenue East to proceed to final approval. Moved by Councillor Randhawa, seconded by Councillor 80. Any staff comments?
There have been no comments, no.
Okay. Okay, any council discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, next we have our further to our previous meeting. So the recommendation is that council introduce and give first, second, and third reading to the Woodworth Dam replacement temporary borrowing bylaw number 3458-2020, and that council introduce and give first, second, and third reading to the solid waste infrastructure temporary borrowing bylaw number 3459-2020. Moved by Councillor Randhawa, seconded by Councillor 80. Any further discussion on these items?
I just have one question, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
I think this is best directed to the city manager. I'm just wondering if the central bank's decision to cut rates back kind of at the height of COVID restrictions is going to have any impact on the borrowing rates that municipalities will get through the MFA, understanding that it's already a below market financing vehicle, but I just want to know if there's going to be any impact from that central rate cut.
I doubt it. The MFA, of course, has the AAA plus rating. So whatever the cut is from the central bank, it'll also probably reflect clearly on our collective credit, which is as good as it gets. So if there is a benefit, that benefit I'm sure will flow through to what the bond rates will end up being.
Any follow-up, Councillor Moreau?
Nope, that's everything. Thanks.
Okay. Any further discussions?
Along those lines of borrowing, is the federal government coming up with any new plans for infrastructure lending and things like that? Question for Bob.
Yeah, there is a number of new programs that they seem to be site specific, and I don't think we've heard announcements, but we don't have all the details yet. But I'm sure it'll be coming forward. The FCM is probably gonna be pushing for more infrastructure spending in the coming years.
Okay, any further discussion?
Thanks, Bob.
Yep.
Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, I have a couple reports for tonight. First, we'll start with the BC Housing. BC Housing was scheduled to be on tonight's agenda. However, after hearing feedback from their process, they're wanting to make some adjustments to their project. before it comes into the second reading of the process. So they will most likely be at one of our upcoming meetings, the update for the project, because they've been thoroughly engaging with people in the residents there and everything like that. So just wanted to make sure that folks were aware that that process is still moving forward, but they're wanting to make some adjustments to it. This coming week, we also have a variety of minister meetings. So the next 2 weeks is kind of UBCM week virtually. Generally speaking, at the UBCM, a convention, which is annual, is supposed to be in Victoria this year, but it's all virtual. I believe next week is the convention, and this week is the minister meetings. So council will be attending virtual conversations with various ministries this week, including I'll also be doing an additional meeting with the Premier and Minister of Finance and the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing as one of the RBA co-chairs. So we're hoping to have an RBA update out to the community as well through that process. And so that will be this week happening, as well as we are also doing a variety of OCP engagements this week. So we have many folks have scheduled meetings with us to come and talk to us about the OCP. I've had a few today. We'll have many out throughout this week. Anyone listening would like to still come and do those meetings. There's still schedule available, so you just get a hold of us here at City Hall and the website. We've had the numbers and emails and to call and make those appointments. We're also looking to do further engagements after this week through the OCP, just wanting to make sure that we thoroughly engage the public in different formats so that folks feel that they've been heard through the OCP. But so far, hearing lots of positive feedback. A lot of people are feeling very excited about where the direction that this new OCP is going in, and some of the model that we want to move forward with. And we anticipate that over the next year here, we're going to have a lot of good concrete projects on the ground that will be moving forward that are in relation to some of the OCP changes that we're doing. So that's happening this week. And then last report here is also, we had an incident here with a black bear this prior week. We also had the incident with the wolves earlier this year in June. And council earlier wrote to the Conservation Office or the Ministry of Environment, which is where it's held into, about having a conservation officer in Prince Rupert located here. So I just wanted to give the community an update that we did receive an official response from Minister George Heyman, and I have a letter here from him. I won't read out the entire letter, but the summation of the letter is that Prince Rupert just does not have the frequency of calls to warrant the investment for a conservation officer. Their model is a regional model where they have a conservation officer in one location that can service an entire area. And they gave us some stats here that, compared to Terrace, they've had, between April 1st of 2019 and March of 2020, Terrace had 68 calls regarding black bears and 34 calls regarding grizzly bears, and 9 bears were destroyed in Terrace as a result of that, where in Prince Rupert we only had 5. So in their view, that Prince Rupert just doesn't have the call volume to warrant a full-time conservation officer. Whether that's warranted or not, I think we're going to continue to have further discussions with the ministry about it. I think there might be that opportunity, and I think council feels the same. We'll also reach out to the MLA and see if we can figure out some sort of solution to this, but we do know that we live in a natural environment, and we are an hour and a half closest to the conservation officer now, and a lot of the complaints that we're getting is that by the time a call comes and the conservation officer gets that call, whether they're even able to even respond in the immediacy of an issue like that to get here in time, these are questions that we need to further follow up with the ministry on. So far, we've gotten that response that there's just not warranted the amount of call volume for the, and so we do appreciate getting an official response back from the minister, but I just wanted to make sure the community knew that we were following up with what the communities have been asking of us, is that we wanted to lobby the province around that, and we will continue to have that dialogue and see if we can come to some sort of resolution. So I just wanted to make sure that those updates were put out there. And those are my reports for this evening. Councillor Adie.
I think just to follow up on that, we come up with a number. We say that there were 5 here, and 9 million somewhere else. Those numbers are useful from a statistical standpoint, but they don't actually acknowledge the impact that even one of these incidents can have on people who are witnesses. I know we had one near my own house a few years ago, and it had a pretty profound impact. And I think we need to acknowledge that, and that's part of why these incidents get the level of passion that they do. So I want to acknowledge that, but I also think that we need to take some of the impact and say, well, this means we need to rethink some of how we behave. And I think particularly around how we deal with garbage, how we store garbage, making sure that there are proper sealed containers rather than, just putting the garbage out in bags that the ravens can get into. We can do some of these things are really on us as individuals, residents, that can help to improve the situation. And the last point, I think, is that unfortunately one of the driving forces behind this is the nature of development. And, we're all happy to applaud economic growth, economic expansion, but one of the costs of it is that natural land gets taken up, and that tends to push wildlife in different directions. And I think we're dealing with the consequences of some of that. So my perspective is, in the short term, I think that we, as citizens, need to do as good a job as we can to eliminate the attraction. But in the long term, I think that we do have a legitimate reason that there needs to be a more comprehensive system set up so that we can respond to these incidents here.
Yeah, and just to follow up with that too, I think the city has a role to play in terms of education for the residents as well. And we did post a notice through our social media and our website around bear awareness, and also a number of people can call if there's noticing there's garbage, or if there's people that are not properly securing garbage. I mean, I think you're right. We all have a role to play. And if we are having to spend some time working with the province to see how we're going to sort out the conservation officer issue, then we need to become more together with the issue as a community. So I think we can play a role on that educational front as well. So those are some good points. So those are my my reports, and if there's other reports or more comments about this, Councillor Niche.
I would like to put forward a notice of motion to stop enforcement of any infractions of containers in light industrial areas until we have an opportunity to finish the work that we've done in years past, and the work that we're currently doing in our new OCP, and wait until we've got all this work done into our new OCP, and then we can come up with a proper set of rules in regards to containers in light industrial areas. And I'm looking for some support on that.
I don't think there needs to be there doesn't need to be a mover or seconder. That's just to say that at the next council meeting there'll be a motion to that effect, and we can have that discussion at the next council meeting. Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other reports from council? On the phone? Okay, hearing none, I entertain a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting. Moved by Councillor 80, seconded by Councillor Randhawa. All those in favor? Meeting's adjourned. Good evening, everyone.